Looks like it's about time to start. I call this regular meeting of the Frankfort Community Unit School District, number 168, to order. To determine if the quorum is present, I would ask the secretary to please call the roll.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Here.
Mr. Rasowitz?
Here.
Mr. Karofsky?
Yes.
I'm here. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Here. I certify that a quorum is present. Would everyone please rise and join the new board member, Mr. Brian Aaron, as he leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. It's always nice to have a veteran do this in the pledge. We'll now move on to item number 2. That is the hearing of, I'm sorry, Mr. Bell.
I want to make mention as we begin that we lost another former faculty member and alumnus, Mr. Loris Carrasco, who was a member of the class of 1950, began teaching in Benton in 1954, but came here 2 years later and spent her career teaching business, mainly shorthand and typing. She chaired the business department, dean of girls, and then dean of students when I was coming through school. She retired in 1992 after 38 years of teaching. Continued to help out with various projects. You can tell even by her obituary, which I've got a feeling she typed. She was still keeping up, and she mentioned record keeping as one of the things that she was still doing as a good business teacher. But I want to mention her passing as we begin this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Now, item number 2, hearing of delegates or visitors and public comments. This is the time in the meeting when we ask if any delegates or visitors would like to make public comments for the board to hear. If you wish to speak per board policy 2.230, we ask that you identify yourself for the record and limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak who's not otherwise on the agenda?
Brandon, just down here in town. Regarding the Apex Learning Edmonton thing, are we making a decision on whether we're going to follow through with that tonight?
It's on the agenda for consideration, yes.
Okay.
And we'll explain kind of what that is when we get to that point.
Okay. So, one of the things I was looking at was just how other people had reviewed it and used it and stuff like that. Is this something that we've used in the past?
Yes.
Okay.
For about a decade.
Okay. That's really all I got on it. I just wanted to make sure this is something that we were familiar with and that we knew the ins and outs of. Thanks.
Anyone else? Mrs. Goodson, Mrs. Summers? Nothing? Okay. Moving right along then. Item number 3, approval of minutes. The open and closed sessions of the regular meeting of April 28, 2025, and a special meeting and a special organizational meeting of April 28, 2025. The minutes of the previous meetings were included in your packets. After you have reviewed them, if there are no further corrections or clarifications, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the open and closed sessions of the regular meeting of April 28, 2025, and the special meeting and the special organizational meeting of April 28, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Porowski. How about a second?
I'll second that.
I think that was Mr. Aaron.
Correct.
My ears are getting better. Thank you, gentlemen. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Rasowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Karofsky?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Item 4, approval of bills and the financial reports. Mr. Dolan.
If you have bills and financial reports that included voucher checks number 250-117 to 250-187 from the general fund bank account in the amount of $562,076.76. Electronic payments to the general fund bank account from April the 25th to May the 15th in the amount of $366,568.67. Nothing from the athletic trust fund nor the academic trust fund, although that will change next time. No payments from the bond and interest fund for a total of $928,645.43. Do keep in mind, as some grants are finishing out and may have funds in their budget line still yet, you will see some of that go through in the next month. Then there were 2 payrolls in April 11th, the amount of $540,746.36. That covered 272 total employees, teachers, coaches, staff, substitutes. And on April 25th, $541,751.04 covered 276 employees.
Thank you, Mr. Malcolm. Are there any questions on the bills and the financials? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the bills and the financial reports.
I'll make it.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Graskowitz. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Graskowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Farowski?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Item number 5, on the reports. First, Mr. Matt Dawkins, Superintendent.
As we bring the school year to a close, mostly this week, but also 2 days next week, various buildings will share in their reports. Closing activities, which has also had to dodge the weather a little bit, as field trips have been scheduled and recalled or postponed, including, as we're fortunate, we did not make the trip to the St. Louis Zoo Friday. Exams at the end of the week.
That was a good call. Whoever made it.
Yes. Yes.
Good call.
One group did go up today. Of course, some stuff was closed, but the zoo was open. Want to mention as an update, I mentioned before the city of West Frankfort is looking into a residential TIF district. We had received a letter a couple months ago mentioning that this was going to happen. I went to City Hall, met with the city clerk and the mayor, and they said there would be upcoming meetings. Got that. Then I understand there was a meeting about a week and a half ago that certified letters had gone out inviting people. I don't recall seeing the letter, and that was the only outreach we got as the largest tax body, other tax body. But unfortunately weren't there, but there will be others going forward. That letter certified came in on Monday the 28th, which if you remember was the day back from spring break, the day we had a board meeting, the day we were swearing everybody in and seating everybody. No excuse, but that letter got lost in the shuffle. But we'll continue to watch for developments there. And again, we do have a seat at the table as they talk about agreements to go with that, to offset some of the potential freezing of tax proceeds from areas in the TIF district. Also have a FOIA report for Board Policy 2250. On Friday, April 4th, we had, just a follow-up from last time, an email from the data branch, some national company that had asked for a commercial request for all purchase orders in electronic format since fiscal year 2020. We don't keep purchase orders in an electronic system. We instead gave them a copy of our ledger, which they said would be fine. Then apparently the word is spreading. We got another email from something called Civic IQ Incorporated from Hoboken, New Jersey, that has AI in their title as well. Commercial request for purchases from January 1st. 1st, 2022 to the present, same kind of thing. I imagine they're data mining and then trying to figure out what we're buying and figure out ways to send us more emails asking us to buy more stuff.
I know I've asked you informally, Mr. Duncan, but formally now, is there anything that we can do about the number of these, I won't say anonymous, but these automatically generated or AI generated FOIA requests,
Nope, answer the public.
even though they're from Hoboken, New Jersey?
They are citizens too. There is provision in the law about excessive, but it's a high threshold, a high bar. So we kind of had this put together where we could do it. If I had printed the spreadsheet, it looked like it was about 150 pages. So I didn't print the spreadsheet.
Sure.
That goes with that, and they want it electronic. Also mentioned later this week, we have our rating call with Standard & Poor's to get our bond rating, and they will decide what that will be. That's the bond process, and we'll see where we are there.
It is Thursday. Any questions of Mr. Duncan? Thank you, sir. Next up might be,
Yes.
Mrs. Deason has to have an early out tonight.
We have a few folks who had health issues that we're dealing with this weekend, this evening, and then Ms. Deason.
Ready for me?
Okay, yes.
Oh, yes, I have to go coach the ball game today. Okay, so last week, or May 7th, we had our Bob Gower banquet. It went really well. Kids had a great time. Miss Buckingham put that all together, and she did a really good job with that. Lily Cooksey was elected our new student body president for next year. And then this week is very busy for us. Tomorrow, we're going to start at 9 a.m. at Denning and do our senior walk. And we'll go to all the buildings in the district. And then graduation practice will be at 10 a.m. We have our CNA pinning at 3 p.m. in the auditorium. Honors nights also in the auditorium at 7 p.m. And then Wednesday, we have our baccalaureate at 6 p.m. in the gymnasium. Senior banquet follows that at 7, and that is at the old house. And then Thursday, of course, is graduation at 8 p.m. And then we finish off the week Thursday and Friday with semester exams for our underclassmen.
Any questions?
Prom was very successful. I went that, and that was really nice. Senior trek went very well, and whoever is in charge of the shirts that they passed out to teachers, that last video actually made me cry. That's Mr. Eriks over there. He's in charge of that. So. Yeah.
Anything else?
The touchy-feely guy.
Yeah.
And we'll remind the board to get a straw poll of making sure who we have on the stage for Thursday evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have anything for Mrs. Foley to vote?
Let's just keep going in reverse order.
Okay, reverse order.
Reverse order?
Reverse
Yes.
order. Central Junior High School. Mrs. Tara Sullivan.
Okay. For our academic component, we have added multiple new electives for students this year, bringing back a journalism course to bring back our school newspaper, and those students are also going to help us with our yearbook, which has been created out of our office for the last, I don't know how long, but quite a while, so that'll be helpful. We're combining our service learning and our character ed course into one course, so because we lost a teacher that I was teaching that this last year, and so one teacher's gonna combine both those topics. And then we got some fun things to keep more STEM to the forefront, but in a fun way. So Ms. Jacobs is gonna teach a class called the Art of Math that deals more with geometry and figures, and Mr. Webb is gonna teach a class called the Science of Golf, which is gonna focus on physics and how golf plays into physics and those sorts of things. So kind of getting kids acclimated to learning in a fun environment for an elective. We're also adding an intervention when we started making the new schedule for this year, we wanted to make sure that we still had 8 periods in the day because of our special ed teachers needed 8 periods to fill for all their students. So we added an RTI period at the end of the day. I've met with all the departments and we've looked at test scores, trying to identify the areas in which we can specifically focus in on skills that students need. And then we're going to place those kids into RTI, which will be quarter-long periods, so they might have one of math, one of history, whatever they need, but also some enhancement for those kids who are on the high end of things, so they can have some enrichment as well. So kind of like a gifted course for some of those things. We're continuing with our advisory period for next year to help with that social emotional regulation in the morning. And getting kids prepared and ready to learn every day, but we've shortened it so we can maximize our instructional time. It's just a little bit too long, so we can add some more minutes to each class. And then our honors night we had last week. We had 125 kids recognized at honors night. My goal is always to get it done in under an hour, and we made it. Kendall Browning's son was the best dressed of the evening, so I saw pictures. He wore his American flag suit, so very cool. Safety and school safety, we postponed our trip to the St. Louis Zoo last week. They are going to get to go this Thursday after looking at the weather for the next couple of days again. We pushed it off, but they will be back in time for graduation. We have met with the safety team. We're updating our flip charts for our classrooms with current information. We've moved some things around. We have different teachers in the building, so all of that is being updated now. In athletics, we had some state track finalists. Our boys 4x2 went to state. Xander Coffey, Braxton Melvin, Xavier Cuevas, and Landry Dunstan. They placed 8th in our track regional and then went on to state. And Joan Raby placed 2nd in our regional and went on to state in the high jump. We had our spring concert on May 8th. I'd like to commend Mr. Vine coming in half the year and taking over. The band sounded really good. Lots of kids participating, which is the goal, to continue our music program with as much fidelity as we can. This morning we had our student appreciation breakfast. There's a lot of criteria that goes into that, very strict criteria, absences, grades, disciplinary, all that kind of thing. But it's put on by our staff. Our staff make all the food for the breakfast and bring in and feed the kids and serve them and everything. And it's just a really, really good morning, and they were so appreciative this morning and thankful. And sometimes we hear it, and sometimes we don't, but this morning we definitely did. I'd like to thank our parent group, the Beta Club, the Builders Club, and the Student Council for all the things that they did during Teacher Appreciation Week. I mean, they rocked it for our teachers. We got fed very well. I think everybody gained 10 pounds during Teacher Appreciation Week. Upcoming this week, we have our fun day on Friday. On our Friday night is our 8th grade party here. We have laser tag and food and all kinds of good stuff coming in. And then next week, we take our Six Flags trip, and then we're done.
You said that with a smile on your face.
After today, yes.
Any questions or comments from Mrs. Sullivan?
Sorry.
Staying with that theme of going in reverse order, which is hard for me to do. Next up, Mrs. Missy Montgomery from FIS.
Hello, everybody. We are currently finishing up our spring iReady diagnostic testing. We're seeing some great gains in both math and reading. I included a chart there on your word packet, but as I'm looking at this, I see where it's only 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, so I'm guessing I forgot to highlight the 6th grade. I promise you we could take that there too. 6th grade, they went from 12% to 29% in math, and reading 19 to 35. As far as school safety, we're talking about, we've continually reviewed our school safety drill procedures this last month, where we've had all kinds of wild weather situations, so that's been something that we've been very vigilant towards and working with our kids to prepare them for that. We had a PBIS fundraiser on the basketball court today, where they got to vote with $1 per vote to see which staff member they wanted to see a pie in the face. So we did that, and the top 5 vote getters got pied. So luckily for the fifth and sixth person, we had a tie. So we were able to just go ahead and put that extra sixth pie in there. So myself, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Warren, Emma Montgomery, Ms. Grimes, and Mr. Singles all took a pie to the face today, and the kids loved it. We did have breakfast with the buddy on May 6th and 7th. So I'd like to thank the West Frankfort PD, West Frankfort Fire Department for coming and eating breakfast for their kids. So that made them feel very special that day. Our grade level representatives met at our monthly roundtable meeting last week. So we discussed several topics pertaining to the end of this school year and then the beginning of next school year and things that we would like to improve. One thing that we talked about was that we were really looking forward to utilizing the TI days and the SIP days that are strategically planned out in the calendar for next year. So we greatly appreciate putting those in there. We plan to take full use of them. And that's it.
Any questions or comments?
For the iReady, not experienced with that. I would think that the higher the number, the better. Do you know what kind of the average is across the state, or at least in our area?
This is just for us, so it's not comparative to any other districts in the state. I don't have access to theirs. Maybe if I do a little digging, I might be able to just ask my people that I know in other districts to see how they're looking at that. I do know that they are fairly indicative of what we see on IAR scores. The last few years, those have really been lacking, so that's something that we're looking to improve every year. And if these numbers, like especially in reading and math, if those hold true, those are higher than what we had last year. So.
And where we had gotten to with the IAR and the state test once a year, and the SAT and now ACT at the high school, that kind of gives you that, but it's covering what we're teaching, what we're looking at, and what can we do during the year, since those are just once a year. And until now, we don't get the results of the following year, so that doesn't do us much good. So we had a previous product when we went to iReady.
Correct. I was here before I got here, so.
About 3 years ago. Before. So we had some kind of tracking in the buildings to see what we were doing beyond just teacher tests, but also some kind of tool to help measure reading and math, and also, of course, coming through the pandemic, trying to get a gauge of where we were, how we could grow, how we could make adjustments during the course of the year.
Is there any kind of like supplemental learning that you can do for students between school years, like sending them home with stuff to work on, so that they're closer to on grade level before they're next year?
I mean, they can do that. They can also access iReady has, it's not just the diagnostic testing, they also have like learning paths.
Right.
So it's specifically targeted for each kid at their level.
And can they use that over the summer?
I know they can use it. I don't think it's turned off.
Up until July 27th is when the new year rolls over. Any kid can log in between school ending and that date and do as many lessons as they want.
And then it's just a couple weeks until the next school year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Hillevogt isn't with us this evening, but Mr. Duncan has her report.
She had a health emergency, but did want to pass along on her report some things she was excited about. By the way, their quarter four attendance was 96%. They will be giving away 2 new bicycles for perfect attendance this quarter. I think that was money raised from the parent group, but I would have to double check. They had reduced incidents of behavior from first grade to second grade. That part was an improvement. However, as we have talked, and as superintendents and principals and everybody I have talked with across the state, a lot of issues with incoming kindergarten students and needing a lot of support. They've been working through those. Again, as you look through the 300 or so students attending, it's about 15 to 20 students who they've been working with the most and dealing with incidents. As far as safety, one of the things that had been ordered back during the pandemic, we tried to order, was a fence screen for the playground on the east side of fence on the east side of the Denton playground. Have had issues with people trying to take pictures and other things over there. Have dealt with that as we saw it, but also ordered a fence screen, which was backordered. That screen is finally in, and they're going to install that next week and see how that part works. On Friday at 9:30 is the kindergarten celebration, or their quote graduation day. And then want to mention on academics, and this was what they were excited about. There's been some diligent curriculum work the last couple of years, including on reading approaches, on the iReady growth. I don't have definitions of all the numbers. You saw it in your packet. It's on page 55, but we'll mention in reading, kindergartners saw 61% on grade level growth. First grade saw 70%, second grade saw 60%. On the math side, there was growth of 38% for kindergarten, 35% for first grade, and 41% for second grade. Still working on that, but there was growth in those areas. The school continues to be a targeted school. We're still working through some improvement work and some title grant money to support that work, and we'll continue to be doing that next year. But a testament to the faculty and staff at Denton for the job they've done bringing our students along this year.
Impressive schools. Really impressive.
They did a really good job at the whale play too. It was really nice.
Thank you for going. Appreciate that. Next up, I believe, from the Office of Student Services, Mrs. Jody DeJarno.
finishing up this school year and then trying to get things prepared for next school year. We've had a few things that we've dealt with that we have not had to deal with in the past. There's a new thing called Angel Sense, and thank goodness Mr. Hill had seen an article regarding this and he forwarded it to me. It is a device that autistic children wear to monitor their whereabouts for those kids who elope. And so I kind of dealt through that because we had a new student that started that wears an Angel Sense device. So we kind of walked our way through that, and that turned out pretty good. The parents were very cooperative, so that was awesome. Each May, before May 31st, we have to have a timely and meaningful meeting, which is where we have to meet with parochial and private schools as well as homeschool students to discuss how the proportionate share of the special education grants will be spent. Usually, the past 2 or 3 years, we've had several people attend those meetings. This year, we had one parent attend via call-in meeting. So I prepared a PowerPoint for that, and Lisa, we have to send out letters to each person that is homeschooling, so she did that, and then we have to put ads in the newspaper, so that has all been taken care of. Keith and Daniel took care of the annual cost report for Medicaid, and then I did the desk review and certified that. With the certification of the desk review, we will be getting $183,715.47 through the quarterly Medicaid. And how that works is they pay us quarterly expenditures. We do a quarterly report and they pay the expenditures for that. So the first line is what we would have gotten throughout the fiscal year of 24, or 23, I'm sorry. I always get 24 and fiscal and calendar year mixed up. But that top number is what our quarterly report should have brought in. The second one is the amount that
one are the total expenditures that we spend on Medicaid, or expenditures. The second line is total Medicaid expenditures, and then line 3 is what they paid us each quarter. That would be the total. And so we ended up with extra money that it's not extra, but it's money that they owed us. Last year we ended up with $83,000 extra, and a lot of districts around us had to pay money back. Some districts had to pay $200,000 back to the federal government, but we are in a positive situation this year, so we're getting over $100,000 more than we got last year back for our Medicaid work. This is a very complicated formula that the computer system does, and it has to do with the amount of money we spend on staff members that are direct service providers. That means they provide services and they bill Medicaid. Then as they bill Medicaid, we get paid for that. And then we fill out this quarterly report, and it's all kind of tied together. So this is only the quarterly report. It is not what Medicaid has brought in. And what we talked about, I attended a monthly Medicaid webinar, and what they were saying was the important thing is to have a system in place for those staff members who might miss their timely and meaningful consultation, I'm back to the grant, their random moment in time study. Oftentimes every quarter I send in a list of people who are on our staff pool list, and they randomly pick someone to answer the random moment in time study questions, which are 3 questions. And we kind of always go over how to make sure that those questions are answered correctly. And if someone misses their random moment in time, they have 24 hours, and if they do not get the answer in within 24 hours, then that's counted as a 0 towards our percentage. If we are below 80% for 2 quarters, we lose all Medicaid money. We have been at 100% all year this year and most of last year. So it's real important that whenever those people get their random moment in time study, if they don't do it, an email comes to me and I call that person to make sure that they have that taken care of. And the staff is super cooperative, and the staff is super great about getting Medicaid billing done. Used to, we had 2 years to get billing in, and now we have 6 months. If it's not in 6 months, we lose that money. And so that's always been something that they all do a great job with that. So kudos to the staff for that, which would be our related service staff are the only ones that can bill. So that would be speech language, occupational therapy, physical therapy, school health aides, EOC aides, nurses, social work. All of those folks can bill. And last year that law expanded. Used to, the only people who could bill would be those that had an IEP. They expanded that to anyone who has a health plan or has a 504 plan. So any student, I meet with the school nurses, and any student that takes medication, we go through that and we make sure that they have a health plan and that those students are being billed for. Tabitha and Tony have been working
Just
on...
real quick, we get these funds next year?
This money, that I gave you, the law says that has to be to the school district before June 30th of the school year.
Okay, so we'll get.
So we'll get it this school year, yes. Tabitha and Tony have been wrapping up IEP meetings and still holding grid meetings. Grid meetings are what we have for the parents to sign permission for us to test students. Des is caught up on all of her evaluations. I would like to say that no other district in this area has a Desiree Farley. And I think Mr. Tony could attest to that.
Absolutely.
She gets things done that nobody else can get done, and when she's not doing things, she is asking, I have an idea for a program for next year, what do you think, can we do it? Because I was in her office this morning with her with a great idea, but I said we need to work out the bugs before we present that and make sure that we got all of our ducks in a row. Mandy has been busy also still seeing students. We also have another gym in Kathy Stagel. She goes above and beyond for our students. She has gotten an AFO brace for a student who has an orthopedic impairment, and that brace broke. She went and mailed the brace to the doctor in St. Louis, to the orthotist. She went and bought shoes out of her own money for that student, because when you have a brace like that, you have to have 2 different sizes shoes. And it's kind of hard to convince parents sometimes, so she went and bought those. I did not realize she had done it until she had already done it. But anyway, so she really goes above and beyond. She obtained a stander for a student so that he could use that in the home setting, and that's to no cost of us, but it was just a help to the parents. So we have a lot of very valuable folks in our office, and we've just been busy trying to get things ready for next year. We've had a few meetings with some pre-K, early childhood curriculum folks. We're trying to find something that we can use for early childhood for a curriculum and progress monitoring tool.
I noticed that in the bills, there was a bill for Helping Hands.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still Gloria Wargle and Kim Parr?
That is Gloria Wargle and Kim Parr and Aaron Pickles now.
Okay.
We have, I don't know, I could add them up how many. We've got several OT students since the pandemic. We have a lot of students that have a really hard time with both fine and gross motor, so those numbers have grown. And Gloria, her mother's not well, so she's moved in with her mom, so she's not able to come every day. She comes 1 day a week, and Aaron Pickles does 4 days a week. And then Kim also has help from Angie Oglesby, which is an occupational therapist, because Kim is teaching the OT program at SIU. So they kind of tag team each other.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Next up, I'd like to introduce Mr. Harris, Assistant Superintendent, FCHS Athletic Director, and Title I.
All right, baseball had their first regional game today. It was at home, we won 4-1. We'll play Massac Wednesday at 4:30. The girls are playing Johnson City at Peakyville on Wednesday for their first regional game. The boys track sectionals are Wednesday at Mascuda. And this is also the time of year we're going to start writing our grants. We'll be starting Title I, 2, and 4, our School Improvement 10038 grant. We're going to apply for the COP security grant this year. We've not done that before. That grant's not guaranteed. They only award it to a few schools. The agricultural 3 circles grant and the ag incentive grant. Also wanted to recognize our sports marketing team this year. They're graduating on Thursday. This is the first year we started doing that. And Shannon, honestly, they was in charge of the impact shirts. They took care of everything. They did an amazing job all year. We originally started that group to start getting positive stuff out for our school district, and I think they've done a great job with that.
I agree.
They're gonna keep going.
Yes, we've already got a class picked out next year.
Yeah, they do great.
Yeah.
How many's in that class for next year?
7. I think we had 6. We had 5 this year, 6 next year. Yeah. But it'll be a pretty good class. I don't know if they're going to do as good as this first year or not. They'll do fine. Anybody have any questions?
I think it was maybe the Johnson City superintendent was pretty good at grant writing. Saw that she was going to be retiring. Didn't know that somebody that would like to reach out to and see if she has any pointers on what grants our region might be.
We've talked and worked with her throughout all of our careers, so.
Yep, she is a good one though.
Because I think they get all their own new school buses or something like that. Which one of the grants that she got? So
They did, because they were mad at bus contract.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments from Mr. Harris? Thank you, sir. Next up.
Can I go back to something on special ed?
You betcha.
Mr. DeJarnett, quick question on special ed and something that they talked about at the superintendent meeting the other day. I believe there's a bill, I think has been signed into law on orphanage or people that are placed in, students that are placed in residential placements. Right now those go to private. What is the per capita percentage we gotta be before we ever get any reimbursement?
It's not that's not a new bill, but
are not an orphan, after we have paid 2.5%, 2% per cap, and the per caps have not been released yet. Once we have paid 2 times that amount, we start getting money back, and that report is due, I think, in September or October for this school year, so I will do that report. Then, used to, it was like 98, 99% reimbursement after you spent that per cap amount. But because the need has been so high for private and residential facilities since the pandemic, there are a ton of kids in those facilities. That has now been prorated, and not only that, but also now all of that money goes into one pot, and it has to now be shared by those Fund S kids, so that's gonna make it even less money. So right now, they have not given us how much proration we will have, but they are thinking, I've heard as low as 65% and as high as 78%.
That was kind of the conversation, I know, the co-ops and others who had those standalone schools, and I thought it was like 4 per cap, but again, it never got there, they knew there was no money. They argued, hey, we're public schools, why are we sending all the money to the private schools? So they did finally let them in, but they haven't increased the pie, as you said, so we may be getting less back from that. And there's also a state office that also was assisting parents and families who were interested in helping them identify
That is correct. We
these
have
places.
We have one student like that, and we will probably have another student such as that. It's called the Family Service Program. It's FSP, and to be perfectly honest, I can't remember what FSP stands for. I can tell you in just a second. But so FSP came in and told us one of our students who we have really had no issues with in the school setting. They told us that student would be going residential. And I was feeling pretty good about myself. I was thinking, we can fight this if that's not a thing. Well, it's a thing. And so that student was sent to a residential placement, and we have to pay the tuition. And this program pays the residential portion, and there's nothing we can do about that. Even though it was not our recommendation, the law states that if they are placed there by this group, then we pay their tuition until that group decides to let them come back to public school. They do not at all consult us about what is being said. They make their own decision, and then they send them, and then we pay the bill. And that is a bill that cannot be paid through special education. No private school tuition can be paid through special education grants. So we're just kind of stuck with that bill, and I think we've got another one coming up that will go residential.
Thank you.
It's called Family Support Program.
Family Support
You
Program.
did quick Google. So.
Mr. Spence with maintenance.
Okay, D. Martin, construction, they did our roof, here at FIS and Denning. They had finished up most of their work. We did have a punch list inspection last week. Couple minor details, couple of screws that have backed out, couple little things that they're gonna have to come and touch up before we actually, finish the project, but, they've done a pretty good job, at both locations. Irwin Construction, also, have been working on some punch list items at Denning. We actually today were supposed to have a walkthrough, but some of that was, we put it on hold till Wednesday because of the weather. Wasn't sure what the weather's gonna do. Then we need to go outside on a couple of items to take a look, so that would work with, Singer Architects, and we're gonna do that, Wednesday morning. We did have a hot water heater this past month that had failed over at FIS. We had one fail probably 2.5 years ago. It started leaking the actual tank itself, and they are hooked together to where we could isolate it, and then running off the one 120 gallon, for the whole school. In the kitchen we have what they call a booster heater. So, we'll heat that water up with the main hot water heater and send it down to the booster heater, so all their dishes and their dishwasher runs off the booster heater, so we're able to still do dishes and still getting up to temp, 160 for the washing, 180 for the rinse. So we're hanging on, but I believe the thing is in. I talked to one of the HSG guys today. He's working on something at the high school, and he believes he saw the hot water heater. So hopefully in the next couple of days we'll have that baby put in. We do have a chiller issue at FIS. There's 3 chiller setups behind the school. Each of them have what they call 2 circuits or 2 separate compressors. And right now, all we've had since I've been here is chiller 1 and chiller 2. Chiller 3 have been valved off and then kind of parts rocked off it. Not sure why, but we've been running off the chiller 1 and chiller 2, and at times, we've been down to as many as running off of 1 like we are right now, 1 circuit of the 2, and then last year we had all 4 of them running one time. The chiller barrel has failed, meaning our Freon and water had gotten mixed. Got a break internally, and we shorted out one of our compressors. So this is going to be a big hitter for us. Looking at weighing all of our options as far as maybe refurbing chiller 1, chiller 3, firing it up. We got to go through that and see exactly what we can use and what we can't, or what a new chiller costs to replace chiller 1 there.
Life safety, do anything with that?
I'll look into that.
So you're talking about robbing parts off chiller 1 to fix chiller 3?
Well, some of the like breakers and stuff that they robbed in the past we can, but we're not sure, if the compressors are even good on number 3. So I've got to get with HSG. We've got to go through both of them and see what's good and what's bad. Do some math and see what what our best option is.
They're gonna weigh out.
Yeah, because the thing is, the chiller barrel on number 3 is the same age as the chiller barrel on number 1.
Number 2 is still good.
Well, 1 circuit of number 2 is still good. We have a leak in the other one that I bet we've spent $1,200 trying to find that they haven't been able to find yet. So, it's definitely going to keep on trying, but definitely something that we want to keep working through.
But it can work off the 2 because that's what you've been doing for several years.
Several years we've had 1 and 2. We've had at least 3 of the 4 circuits for the last couple of years, but then now we've lost 1, which is two circuits as well. We're running on 1 circuit of possibly 4 is what we've had the last few years. And loop temperature staying in the 50s, but it's also been fairly mild. We've got to get this going before the hot weather gets here.
And unlike years ago where we shut everything down in the summer, that's not recommended, then we have moisture and potential mold issues and
Yes.
et cetera.
We've got that too in years past. We are running, I think we've got six or 8 dehumidifiers scattered throughout the building. 6 of them are big commercial, about $3,000 unit, kind of what, when we had the moisture issues, what the contractors brought. And we was able to get some of that, do some COVID money a few years ago. And we bought those and we put them in, of course, the high moisture, high humid kind of area, 3rd floor, 2nd floor corners, bang room, et cetera.
And we're not the only district that's been fighting those kind of issues. Several have had walked in after a couple of weeks in the summer into rooms and I think Marion did, several districts.
All right. We had a water line break location building was able to fix. A couple of HVAC units we were able to fix on our own. I just want to brag on the staff and some of the PE teachers and students. Setting up our stage is kind of a deal. Let's see, it's like 16 4x8 units that we have to haul up, move around, set those on concrete blocks. So it's definitely a task, and those kids and the teachers there help our guys with that. We've kind of all hands on deck there the last few days, so we've got everything set up and ready for graduation. summer plans.
Things that you're looking to try to do.
Working on putting all that together. We've got some painting and caulking our windows, getting some air gaps at them. That's one big thing we have to address. Gonna do, this will be the first summer since I've been here that we've done 2 of the wood floors ourselves. And not so much just waxing, but just cleaning, scrubbing, buffing gym floors. And that'll be a pretty good task. But it's $4,700 to get one of those done every year. And I think FIS and the junior high, I think we can do those every other year. Whereas the high school, I think we need to keep that wax on that thing as much as possible for the professionals doing that one. But and then of course our normal rooms, moving, stuff like that.
This is the first summer, except for the tuck point, first summer in 3 of these buildings we had something going on, so getting floors, getting deeper clean, etc.
Yes, because it's been a couple of years since we waxed and did the wood floors, some of the wood floors at the high school. So we'll be able to jump on that around this summer.
I would hazard a guess also that if any of us happen to walk through any building in the district about the first or second week of August, we would think, oh my goodness, these buildings are never going to be ready to go. They need another month and a half. And somehow, Mr. Spence and his guys, they must twinkle their nose or do something.
It's always been a mad dash here.
And they get it done, and it's done, even the old buildings, and now we have several of the old buildings. Take a lot of tender loving care, but they shine like a diamond by the time they get through. Thanks, sir.
Hot water heater, is there any option of a tankless hot water heater that could supply the school as something that might be lower maintenance?
I don't know. We didn't really look at the tankless. When I worked with RView, some of the problems that tankless was keeping your lines clean. I know they've probably come a long way since then. That's 10 to 12 years ago, but we burn up elements and stuff. The water that we have or something, I don't know, especially big capacity like that over there. I don't know if that'd be a great option or not. We just went with another gas, similar to what we had. Just curious.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Under item F, committee reports, Mr. Duncan, are there any committee reports?
There are none.
Then under number 6, old business, I assume there is none.
There's none.
Then moving right along to item 7, under new business, business operations, proposals and agreements. Number 1, authorization to place the amended fiscal year 2024-2025 budget on review. Mr. Duncan.
An explanation here. If you have a 10% change in budget lines, you were supposed to amend your budget. Keep in mind, budgets are also a planning document. You make the estimates based on what you know at the time, as we did last summer. Of course, we don't approve that budget until we're 2-3 months into the fiscal year. And there are things that you can plan for, things you don't plan for, things that come in better, things that come in not as good. We do have several lines we know that things that we have not planned for, both positive and negative. We are going to be working through that. Basically what you do right now with what's on display is the budget we have for the year. Then this will be a living document for the next month as we add and subtract. We'll mention them, of course, because we were able to change our internet to something paid for through federal and state funds that we don't have as much of that payment, so we estimated what it regularly been. We saved some money there. We've also moved some salaries around as we found grants that could cover things. That was since the start of the school year. Things like, for example, the tuition that we talked about a moment ago, those weren't foreseen. And then, as we know, coming into this year, even on the revenue side, the CPPRT we thought, as well as the insurance we thought, we budgeted for what would have been a normal increase, and so we are working through that. Mr. Jones, anything else I should add? We'll be sharing with the board as we build on this month, updating you on where we are.
If you look at if you would look at the ISB budget form, it's put together by function number. So what I tried to do was kind of condense the report down to check it by function number. If you ran all these accounts, it would be about 89 pages long. So if you do it by function number, it cuts it down to about 22. I tried to get Mr. to go through those function numbers that were about 85% of the way through the year. So to the function numbers that were more than that, and tried to find the accounts that we were over in, and gave those to Mr. Donkin. We can get you a copy of those accounts so you can look at it a little bit further. That's where we're at right now, and we continue to look and work over the next month to see if anything needs to be added to that list.
And keep in mind, we have to ask you to authorize it to be put on display, and we have to have that for 30 days, which is why we set that up for now, and then our June meeting being far enough down the road that we can have the information out there, the advertisements out there.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion to place the tentative amended 2024-2025 budget on review and advertise on the required forums. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Korosky. How about a second?
I'll second that.
That was Mr. Aaron, I believe. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Crosby?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Rustowicz?
Yes.
Item number 2, authorization to call for bids for dairy, bread, trash, and pest control services. Mr. Duncan.
You can go back about 60 years and districts call for this every year. Be aware that as things have consolidated, there are less and less companies out there doing these things, and we receive less and less bids. However, we at least make the effort. Last year, I think we had 1 bid for dairy. On bread, we ended up rejecting the bid we had. 2 years ago, we had no bids for bread, and we've been purchasing through ports because whoever was supplying bread changed the routes and cut salespeople with deliveries, and they couldn't deliver to schools, so we worked through that. Trash has been 1 or 2 vendors, and then pest control services, we put it out several years ago. We've got to the end of our extensions on that. Put those up for bid. We contact the people we've had, people we know, and then advertise it in the required forums and see what we get.
Any other questions of Mr. Duncan? If not, I would entertain a motion to authorize for the calling of bids of dairy, bread, trash, and pest control services. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Graskowitz. How about a second?
I'll second.
That was Mr. Thornton. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Rustowicz?
Yes.
Mr. Crosby?
Yes.
Item number 3. Sorry to do this to you, Mr. Duncan, but this is the first reading of the amendments to the board policy. Mr. Duncan.
We subscribe to the Illinois Association of School Boards Press Policy Service, which has a team of people who specialize this and a legal team advising them from across the state to keep us up with the law and administrative rules of the state and federal government. They released their latest bulletin in April. This would be the first reading. Then, after I get about 3/4 of the way through this, and I will mention when, last summer there was a one release in June and one release in August. And between those two, I knew I was waiting on the August one. We had not gotten the June one in, so some of these are cleaning up from that oversight at the time. Most of these are footnote and citation issues, but we'll have a couple board members sit down with me and look through these things and see if they're acceptable to us or not, and have it available for approval after the second reading next month. They include amendments to policy 2260, uniform grievance procedure, 2265, Title IX grievance procedure, 415, identity protection, 480, accounting and audits, 510, equal employment opportunity and minority recruitment, 520, workplace harassment prohibited, 560, expenses, 5100, staff development program, 6150, home and hospital instruction, 6235, access to electronic networks, 710, equal educational opportunities, 720, harassment of students, 760, residents, 770, attendance and truancy, 7180, prevention of and response to bullying, intimidation, and harassment, 7185, teen dating violence prohibited, 7190, student behavior, 7200, suspension procedures, 7210, expulsion procedures, 7250, student support services, 7255, students who are parents, expected parents, or victims of domestic or sexual violence, 7270, administering medicines to students, 7310, restrictions on publications, elementary schools, 7315, restrictions on publication, high schools, 7340, student records, 830, visitors to and conduct on school property. And then the previous ones to pick up, 260, board member removal from office, 270, vacancies on the school board, filling vacancies, 2125, board member compensation, there is none. Expenses, however, they incur those. 2160, board attorney, 470, resource conservation, 490, student activity and fiduciary funds, 5180, temporary illness or temporary incapacity, 5200, terms and conditions of employment dismissal, 5285, drug and alcohol testing for school bus and commercial vehicle drivers, 5290, employment termination and suspension, 6110, programs for students at risk of academic failure and or dropping out of school and graduation incentives program, 6140, education of homeless children, 6210, instructional materials, 7170, vandalism, and 870, accommodating individuals with disabilities.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Thus ended the first reading.
I have a question. So I noticed a lot of these is the state of Tennessee versus Kedona. Does federal law trump state law, or is that still
Yes.
decided? Okay.
Federal from state, some of these things were policy that we had put in reflected the Illinois law last year.
Right.
The court case threw that out, so we're basically reversing
Awesome.
what we put in.
Any other questions? This is a non-action item, correct, Mr. Dunn?
That is correct.
So moving right along then to section B, curricular and extracurricular programs. Number one, consideration of an opt-out option for the college and career pathway endorsement for school year 2025-2026. Mr. Dunn.
The state had passed into law more information, more program for college and career pathway endorsements that include work programs, I won't say apprenticeship programs, but work programs. They had a deadline of December to have the original plan in. We were not ready for it yet at that point. Part of this does give you another, I guess, certification as you graduate from high school. I will not say it's, although some detractors have said, who's going to care on one more thing on a diploma if you're out looking for a job, but the idea is yes, it will, and we want to participate. However, we, like a lot of districts, are not participating in the first year. We were not ready in December when we had to have a plan submitted. We planned to have a plan submitted by the December deadline this year for the following school year. But we didn't get this opt-out done back a few months ago. Need to do it before the end of the fiscal year. You will notice on here the questions they ask, findings in our report, the district's cost of implementation balanced against the potential benefits to students and families through improved post-secondary education and career outcomes. At the time of the December 2024 deadline to submit a plan, the district was and continues to work through financial limits to properly teach and supervise this program. The district should have a clear picture in preparation for the December 2025 plan deadline and implementation for school year 26-27. Another consideration, the willingness and capacity of local businesses to partner with the school district for successful implementation of pathways other than education. We are in the process of identifying businesses to participate. It was still a work in progress in December 24, with those completed in preparation for school year 26-27, and also make sure liability and insurance and other things also cover that, which is a question that came up amongst our group in the county. The willingness, another factor, the willingness of institutions of higher education to partner with the school districts for successful implementation of the pathway, and whether the district has sought to establish a partnership agreement with the community college district incorporating these provisions. We do have agreements with John A. Logan College, and they are willing to work with us. However, again, at the time of plan submission, we've been working with partners to identify the faculty with the proper credentials for dual credit. You might remember we have a work-based plan that Mr. Hill has spoken on about, that Ms. Jerry Shaw will be leading, as she has been working on getting the proper credentials for that. Again, that's something we didn't have in December. And those were the, let's see here, and the fifth factor, the availability of a statewide database of participating local business partners. Oops, we didn't do that one, it's number 6. The availability of properly licensed teachers or teachers meeting academic standards for dual credit courses. Keep in mind when dual credit began back in the early 2000s, it came in, everybody was thrilled, high school teachers were able to teach dual credit. And then the junior college accrediting agencies pointed out that those people needed to have advanced degrees in their subjects. You might have got a master's in teaching, no, it had to be in history, or it had to be in Spanish, or it had to be in math or English. Not all of our staff had that. That's one reason we utilize the Extension Center. We do have a few staff that can do that on campus. So, trying to match the work program with those things. Keep in mind, we also might have John A. Logan provide those instructors, but they've also got to find those instructors. One of the programs we may have been able to work through is nursing. Keep in mind, when we didn't have a nurse who was able to teach the CNA class last year, John A. Logan didn't have anybody to send either. And that's a problem. I know talking to Carbondale High School earlier this year, other places, there's just not the people out there that will available or will accept the pay level to do that. So we should be better positioned for this a year from now, but for now we need to opt out, which, missing that December deadline, basically that's where it puts us.
Any further questions of Mr. Duncan? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the opt-out option for the college and career pathway endorsement for school year 2025-2026. Do I hear a motion?
Nominated.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. How about a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Porosky. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Grassley?
Yes.
Mr. Porosky?
Yes.
I say yes.
Item number 2, consideration of agreement with Edmentum, which is Apex Learning, for a limited amount of online course enrollments for school year 2025-2026. Mr. Duncan.
Credit recovery, dealing with students who have fallen behind, has been an effort not just since the pandemic, but also an effort since, in this district, since around 2012, 2013, around the time that Mr. Stevens was leaving the high school. Previously, all students looking for credit recovery were basically left with the option of going to Project ECHO, program of Regional Office of Education number 21, which was useful. However, at that point in time, when school funding was based on average daily attendance, the students who went there, the state of those students went there as well. The district was concerned about that, thought maybe there were ways that we could address that here, began the credit recovery program, which we had a teacher covering actually since the year that Mr. Stevens left. They looked through and researched various programs, looked at Apex Learning, which was then bought out by Edmentum. We've had a successful relationship with that group. At the same time, then, because of, I guess, lack of electives and opportunities, there was a push for a couple of years to add more and more classes. That became an issue, number one, when some of those classes had been offered by faculty that we've invested in to be teaching. And number two, concern about some of the rigor of those courses. So around 2017, as that board came in, the effort was made to reduce the students taking these Edmentum Apex Learning classes to those needing credit recovery, who had fallen behind, who were trying to get to graduate in 4 years, 5 at the most, which would help our graduation rate. Number one, though keep in mind Project Echo is still an option, and for some students that works better not being in the building with us. However, we began limiting the amount of additional classes could be taken unless it was something that your college just required you to have, that you could show it required you to have, or just in a situation where somebody was basically needing that requirement. So we have looked at the number of usage we have and the license we have. Again, the number of licenses have been less. As you may have looked at the packet we had before, we have been doing about 100 subscriptions a year for the last 3 years for that $11,500 amount. I will be working with Mr. Hill to see if we still need that many, or we can take a few less. You can add more as you go along, but you also want to try to get everything under one price at the beginning. So would ask for approval of this, and again, we'll, yes, it's something that we have to be able to do the credit recovery programs, and
can I say something? Yes, sir. The one thing, because I experienced this with my son, that I would suggest, whether it be Brock or Mr. Hill or my son went through this in 2015 here at the school because they found out at the last minute that he was short a math credit. And so he took the Apex statistics class here to pick up that extra credit. Fortunate enough for him, he got recruited to play baseball at Murray State, some university you probably have heard of. And when it come time to rock and roll the sign, the NCAA wouldn't sign off on their NCAA clearinghouse. They wouldn't accept that class, which meant that one class got to keep him from going to school. And what they said was that the class was not being taught by an Apex approved instructor. After we were told, yes, everything was cool. And I mean, we had people, we had an attorney actually call NCAA, and they were fighting tooth and nail for this one class. I couldn't believe it. And to make a very long story short, which I've already messed up, he had to take that class again through Apex, and the instructor was somewhere in California, so the NCAA would sign off on that. So he had a month to get that done before they would allow him to Murray.
You could still take the class, but they had to have the instructor that was.
They had the NCAA required that if you go through Apex, and we may not ever have a student, but just to know, they wouldn't accept it from our school, and so he had to retake it, and it had to be through an Apex instructor. And I think he had contacted an Apex instructor one time as an email, but NCAA fought it like crazy. So you may want to at least check with them and see.
I know that we've changed things, because like when my son took it, in the summer, it was different than how we do some of the stuff now, so maybe that will change too.
Any other comments or questions, discussion?
What's the cost of Apex? Like, what is the cost to us?
for 100 licenses, $11,500.
Okay. And what do we pay if we go to Echo?
I'll have to get back to you on that. What we pay for Echo, when they changed to evidence-based funding, they didn't give any money to those schools. The money comes to us. They finally have given them a base minimum amount, and then we'll have opportunity for agreement coming up here in another month or so for next year for Echo. We give a percentage of what we receive for a student to them. It's not 100%, so it's still, on balance, is a cost saving for us because we're sending them there, and we still get to keep some of those funds to pay and fund our programs. We'll have to find the comparison. We also do have to transport students to Echo. I know that was kind of the discussion at that point in time, because the program is there. It was being used. I said that the goal at the time was to keep students at the high school if they could.
I understand that, but also understand that we're dealing with budget problems, so if we can save some money by using something that's provided, then we should probably look at that. Just curious, I mean, if they all set each other, and that Apex is a better move, then great, but if we can save some money dealing with the bus barn and everything else, and get kids to Echo, and they still get their credits.
And we still, of course, also have some that don't want their students going there because of the reputation of the program, which I know when I was at the ROV, and even since then they've worked to get past. No, it's not what the horror stories you've heard are, but you know how reputation.
I actually went to Echo, so yeah, it can be a rough place.
Isn't there like like sometimes it's hard to get in because of the amount of kids they can have? Do we fund
Can be. This past year, that was not the case. They seem to be getting a little pickier this year. I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue next year for the conversations they're involved with. But we can, we can table get you a little more information. Like I said, unfortunately, Mr. Hill was decent on here to follow up. If you would like to hear how many people that we have used, but do keep in mind, we have staff assigned to do the credit recovery program for next year.
Well, the good thing is like some of them only take one class. It's not like they're in all day. Some of them only do one class or a couple classes. So then Echo may not be an option, they just go to a class.
I feel like we should table it, maybe discuss the numbers, and, crunch the numbers and see if we can save some money.
That's an option.
I'll say that.
Do we pay a teacher for it as well?
For credit recovery, yes, we are.
And how many kids do we have in that class right now?
Yeah, I don't have that.
Well, I'm just, these are all just things coming up in my head. I'm like, if we have 3 kids in there, would it be more beneficial to pay for them to go to Echo? Or would it be more beneficial to buy this Apex?
I think we have more than that, but we'll get you numbers.
Okay.
Are we on a deadline for this?
We are, they started sending out the, hey, you need to re-up sooner this year, but it seemed like everybody was sending those sooner this year. Didn't say.
Everybody wants to get paid sooner.
Everybody, yeah. If you're saying the same thing. But payment due date's August 31st. We just need to have something.
Taking a little time.
We got.
Did you guys pay out of pocket whenever you had to retake it? Or were you still able to go through the school for that?
Yes. School took care of it.
So it's kind of an error to begin with.
It was kind of a snafu to begin with, so.
Just wondering if that's an option, if there is somebody that didn't want to go to Echo, if they wanted to do that on their own, if we decided not to do this.
I think we probably still got to provide the educational program though. So.
What's the process to table it, Mr. Duncan?
Mr. Aaron made a motion to table this.
Okay.
Mr. Tom, second.
Mr. Aaron and Mr. Clark. Thank you, gentlemen. So, there are no further questions. I would entertain a motion to table the agreement with Edmonton, also known as Apex Learning, for a limited amount of course enrollments for 25-26 until possibly the next board meeting. Do I hear a motion again? Mr. Aaron, was that your motion?
I'll make that motion.
How about a second?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron and Mr. Tharp. Any other discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tony?
Yes.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Groskowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Krosky?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Item C, facilities. Update regarding renovation, planning, and maintenance work project, district facilities. Mr. Bronco.
We'll add on to what Mr. Spence mentioned earlier. One of the changes we did, the signage at Denning had not been included when we did this originally, so there was a change order. We looked at that. We looked at options and talked with Mr. Billingsley and his students, and who have the metal cutter may be aware of, and decided that our students could do this for less than a contractor would. So they have designed the sign, they have cut it out, we have sent it off and gotten it back for being powder coated paint, which should last longer. We have a logo to go with it and hope to get that up. Something our students have put together on the building to finish that part of the project.
Did they do that graduation sign out front of the?
Yes, they did.
That was great. Sign like that.
Yep.
That was another one of the projects. And then I'm going to jump on down to number 2.
Okay.
On high school facilities, as we mentioned, the Tuck Point project, we had a pre-construction meeting. Met with a contractor who's from the Vandalia area. As we looked through, there had been an error on a decimal point on the additional square footage. It was for 1 square foot, not 100 square feet. However, still not bad if we did it where the bid came in to begin with. So we will evaluate as we go through here, again figuring we have about 100,000 spent because we want to use all the 50,000 matching from the state that we can get to as we are in those wells and up there, figure out if we can, after we get the main wells done, if we can get a few more. Looking really at the walls that are facing the west, which get most of that moisture, and where some of our issues are on the east wing west wall, which is where more of our plaster issues are over there.
So is it we read it wrong or they sent it wrong?
I think a combination of that.
Okay.
We didn't have them sign already, did we?
Yes.
I was saving a lot of $12 over here. I was trying to get the whole place down. But the other company
And that was the ultimate bid on that, because if we don't do it,
yes,
we don't do it.
the other company was still $1,500, for 100 square feet. So this company still came in $300 less than the other bid. So even though they had an error there, it was still the cheapest bid to go with for sure.
Is this something that's going on this summer? We're gonna get that this summer?
The plan is start moving equipment a day or 2 after school's out. I thought they could get it done in 4 weeks. And the contractor had been a 12-year board member and board president up in the Vandalia district, so he also understands the pressures and financial and workload, et cetera, that schools face, so.
Any other questions or comments about either facility, number 1 or number 2? If not, we'll move right along then to item D under miscellaneous. Does anyone have any questions or comments from the board for the good of the district? If not, I'll move along to item D, possible closed session. I would entertain a motion to convene in closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, the sale or the purchase of securities, investments, or investment contracts, the purchase or lease of real property for the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, security procedures, school building safety and security, the use of personnel and equipment to respond to a potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, the public, or public property, and other matters relating to individual students, litigation when an action against or affecting or on behalf of a particular public body that has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, as stated in number 5, ILCS 120/2, Article C, subsections 1, 2, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11. Do I finally hear a motion? I'll make it. I heard one down here to my left, Mr. Browning, one to my right.
That'd be me.
Mr. Aaron. Thank you, gentlemen. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Aaron?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Crosswell?
Yes.
Mr. Krosky?
Yes.
I say yes. Mr. Tharp?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
7:28.
I gotta run out here early, so that living document will be out of the budget, that can be on the website for the document section.
I think we have had it on display in the office, but I'll check to see what.
Okay.
The budget right now, of course, is on the website.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry?
See you guys. Where'd you get fitted at? Okay. Oh, yeah. Did you go to Turnbull's place?
Yeah.
Did you go to the golf?
Yeah.
No. Is this still Clark?
Yeah, if I get back.
Be a little bit pricier. Unfortunate amount of price. 100 times less.
Can he give us the written quote? Yeah, that would be awesome.
He's pretty good at figuring this out.
Yeah.
I'm Tim tonight.
Well, I started saying.
He's in a wave ball game.
Well, I had told Tim, I said, if there's any, I said, I usually go up to him, and I've got 2 ball players, and I thought, oh, I was going to see that. I didn't know Gary had asked me, but, because
He probably forgot. I was the only one that responded saying, well, Travis lives in Ziegler, Jerry lives in Benton. I said, I'll know.
Well, if I didn't know that, I